Have you ever stopped to wonder what actually powers our digital lives? I mean, everything from streaming movies to shopping online, it all runs on servers. But here's the thing, not all servers are created equal. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden backbone of the internet. We're going to break down the real difference between physical, virtual, and cloud servers.
So let's just start with a really big question. Where does the internet actually live? You know, we hear the term the cloud all the time, but it's not some, fluffy, abstract thing floating in the sky. Nope. It's all powered by real, tangible machines, humming away in data centers all over the world. And honestly, understanding those machines is the key to understanding our modern world.
All right, first up, let's talk about the original, the heavyweight champion, the physical server. This is really where it all began, and in a lot of ways, it's still the absolute foundation for everything else.
So, what is it exactly? Well, a physical server is pretty much what it sounds like, a real single computer. Think of it like a superpowered desktop, but it's purpose-built for one thing. It's got its own dedicated processor, its own memory, its own storage, and it runs just one operating system to do its highly specific job. It's a total specialist.
The easiest way to think about it is with this simple formula right here. One physical computer equals one server, which is dedicated to performing one main job. That could be running a massive financial database or maybe a company's critical internal application. It's all about that pure one-to-one relationship between the hardware and the task.
But, of course, there are trade-offs. Because all that hardware is dedicated, you get the absolute maximum raw performance. This is exactly why you still see them used for things like high-frequency trading or massive scientific computations. That power, though, it comes at a price. These machines are expensive, they eat up a lot of electricity, they take up physical space, and here's the kicker. If just one piece of hardware fails, the entire server can go down.
So the limitations of physical servers, the cost, the inefficiency of having this one powerful machine for just one job, that led to a really brilliant solution. People started asking, what if you could make one physical server act like many? So now, let's look at the real game changer, the virtual server. A virtual server, which you'll often hear called a VM, isn't a physical machine at all. It's actually a super clever piece of software that perfectly emulates a complete computer system. What this does is allow a single, powerful physical server to be sliced up into many smaller, isolated virtual servers, and each one can run its own operating system and its own applications.
And this right here, this shows the incredible leap in efficiency. Our formula changes completely. Now, one physical computer can host many virtual servers, with each one performing its own unique job. For a business, this was truly revolutionary. It meant they could consolidate, say, dozens of underused physical servers onto just a few machines. Imagine the savings in hardware, power, and cooling costs.
So how does this all work? Well, it's not actual magic, but it is a very, very clever piece of software called a hypervisor. This software layer sits directly on the physical server's hardware, and it acts like a traffic cop. It carves up all the resources, the CPU, the RAM, the storage, and it intelligently directs them to all the different virtual machines, making sure each one gets what it needs and stays completely isolated from the others.
So what's the result of all this? Incredible efficiency. You get way better use out of your hardware, which makes it incredibly cost-effective. You can spin up a brand new server in just a few minutes, instead of waiting weeks for a physical one to be delivered and installed. The only small downside is what's called a slight performance overhead. It's like a tiny tax you pay for the hypervisor doing its traffic cop job. Okay, so what happens when you take this amazing idea of virtualization and you scale it up, like to a global level? Well, you get the cloud. This is the next logical revolution, servers that are available on demand from pretty much anywhere in the world. At its core, a cloud server is really just a virtual server. The key difference, and it's a big one, is that you don't own the physical hardware it runs on. It's running in a massive remote data center owned by a company like Amazon, Microsoft, or Google. You're basically renting the fundamental building blocks, the computing power, the storage, and you access it all over the internet. The benefits here are just huge for businesses and developers. For one, you don't have to buy or maintain any physical machines. You only pay for the resources you actually use, just like your electricity bill. And what if your app suddenly gets super popular and you need more power? You can scale up almost instantly. The main dependency, of course, is that you need a reliable internet connection to access everything. Okay, so we've met our three contenders: the powerful physical server, the efficient virtual server, and the flexible cloud server. So let's put them head-to-head in the ultimate server showdown to make all these differences crystal clear.
This comparison table really tells a great story. When it comes to raw performance, that 5-star physical server is just unbeatable because its hardware is 100% dedicated. But then look at the cost. It's a high upfront investment. Virtual servers, though, they offer this great balance with strong 4-star performance and much faster deployment. And then you've got cloud servers, which absolutely win on convenience and agility, with instant deployment and massive scalability. The trade-off? You give up a little performance, and you pay a recurring monthly fee. So, how do you choose? Well, here's a simple rule of thumb that solution architects use. If you're doing something that needs maximum dedicated power, like AI training with powerful GPUs, you go physical. For most standard business applications, virtual servers are the sweet spot of efficiency and control. And for a website or a software as a service platform, think like Netflix or Salesforce, where you're delivering an app to users over the internet, the cloud scalability is just perfect.
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to choosing the right tool for the job. There's no single best server, only the best server for your specific needs, your budget, and your goals.
I think the most crucial thing to take away is this core trade-off. If your number one priority is raw, uncompromising performance for a mission-critical workload, then a physical server is your best bet, hands down. But for almost everything else, where you really need a balance of efficiency, flexibility, and cost-effectiveness, virtualization, whether that's on your own hardware or in the cloud, is the answer.
And that pretty much wraps up our look at the world of servers. From the raw power of physical machines to the incredible flexibility of the cloud, each type plays such a vital role in our digital infrastructure. It all leaves us with one final thought. With the amount of data in the world growing faster than ever before, what do you think the next big evolution in server technology is going to be? Thanks for diving into this with me.